Welcome to Kovair Intelligent DevOps. Kovair DevOps is basically an enterprise solution which simplifies and automates the execution and monitoring of real-time metrics. This can be done by integrating the best of the breed tools which hail from various sectors like development, build, test, and deployment. Kovair has developed a one-click solution for implementing the whole scenario. Moving to the next slide, we take a look over the value proposition. We integrate the DevOps methodology with the tools used in ALM solution from requirement or agile development to production deployment. We have introduced seamless integration between the best of the breed tools hailing from various domains. We can prioritize development issues accordingly. Through Kovair DevOps, we can break the silos between the stakeholders belonging to the different teams. Thus, we improve the real-time collaboration between them. Through the various reports and dashboards which we develop in our Kovair DevOps solution, the project manager and other executives can view the status of the activities running behind the scene. The smart and simple one-click solution automatically executes the set of jobs designed in the pipeline one after the other. In this slide, we can find how the different sectors of a project like initiation, application development, test and acceptance, production are brought together. Kovair has integrated with various tools to frame a complete automated integrated solution. We use ServiceNow, Salesforce for customer inputs, Eclipse, Visual Studio for coding, SVN as a repository for code files, Jenkins for build, and so on. Now, let us have a look at the actual integration scenario. We have used several best of the breed tools to implement our DevOps solution. We will be using ServiceNow, Rally, Eclipse, and SVN. Next, we have a pipeline designed in Jenkins consisting of the jobs build, which will be done by Jenkins itself. Next comes deployment, which will be taken care by Chef. And finally, automation testing by Selenium. Once we trigger the pipeline, the job starts executing one by one. Kovair acts as a central repository where all the data will be stored, out of which we create various reports and dashboards for monitoring purpose. In this demo, a user tries to log in into the production instance of an application. However, an error is encountered and the user raises an incident in ServiceNow. This incident gets added as a defect in Rally. Now, the developer tries to reproduce the same issue in the staging instance as well. When the issue is reproduced, the developer modifies the code file in Eclipse and checks in the same into SVN after linking it with the defect. Next, we trigger the Jenkins pipeline from Kovair that is created to manage staging instance. Build, deployment, and testing are the three jobs scheduled in the pipeline. Next, we check whether the issue still persists in the staging environment. Once the issue gets fixed in staging, we trigger the pipeline designed for production instance. Finally, we get the correct build deployed in the production instance application and the issue is resolved in Rally, which further updates the status in ServiceNow as well. So, firstly, being a user, I'll try to log in into this application. So I provide a username without giving a password and I try to sign in. And it's giving me an incorrect message alert that is please provide username even if we have already provided the username. Next, we omit the username and we provide the password. Well, this goes well. And finally, we provide both the username and the password. And we can successfully sign in. However, due to the error message which we encountered, we are going to raise an incident for this. So we go straight away to ServiceNow. This is our ServiceNow instance, and I create a new incident. I'll give a proper title, say incident, invalid message in login page. The caller, let it be set as system administrator, the state be new, and we are going to select application as Kovair DevOps demo, the urgency as high, and with all these details we are going to submit it. Now what happens, this particular incident in ServiceNow gets added to Rally as a defect and also to Kovair central repository as a defect. Now let's go to Rally, and as a developer we'll try to locate the defect. So this is the Rally instance, and let me refresh this once. Okay, here it is. Incident, invalid message in login page. Now what the developer does, he'll try to reproduce the same issue in the staging instance. So this is the staging instance. Now I'll just provide the username without providing the password. Okay, the same error here again. This time I'll provide the password and omit the username. This seems correct. And I finally sign in. So we have basically reproduced the same error in staging instance as well. So you can see from the URL that this is the staging instance, and the one which the user had tried to log in was the production instance. So what the developer does next, he will try to do certain modifications in the code file and try to fix the bug. So let me take you to Eclipse. Now the defect that got added in Rally has also got added simultaneously in the Kovair application. So let me take you to the Kovair application. I'll provide the credentials and sign in. I choose the correct workspace, Kovair DevOps. And here under defect management group, we have the defects. So this is the defect which just got added. Now, if you remember, we had provided the application as Kovair DevOps demo. So underneath infrastructure management, we have the application. From the traceability view in application, you can actually find that which application has how many defects associated with it. So if I go to Kovair DevOps demo and I expand the list, we'll find all the defects which is associated to this particular application. Now the developer just goes to Eclipse instance and modifies the code file. So this is the code file. We have the omnibus plugin present over here, through which we can see all the defects which is present in our Kovair application. So if I just simply click on go, it will refresh the page and it will fetch all the defects which is present in the application. You can also modify the defect right from here, which will reflect back in the Kovair application. So as you can see that for both the places it's written please provide the username. So I'm going to change this one to password and I save the changes. Next I do what is I'll check in this particular code file to SVN, and while checking in I need to provide the ID of the defect in order to create a link between the defect and the change set. So I go to team, commit, and in the comment section, I'm going to provide the ID 1101. And I click on OK. So this checks in the file to SVN, and from SVN we get the change set, we get the code file, and we also get the link between the change set and the code file, which gets flown to the Kovair central repository. So the developer goes into Rally instance and he changes the state to open and saves it. This modification will be reflected back to ServiceNow. So if I take you to the ServiceNow instance, you can see that currently the state is showing as new, but once we refresh the list, we will be able to see the latest modified state in progress. So what the next step is we have configured a pipeline in Jenkins, and we will execute that pipeline which we have configured basically for the staging instance from Kovair itself. So we need not go to Kovair, we need not go to Jenkins and trigger the pipeline, but we can actually do it right from Kovair. So I'll take you over here. We have the build management section, underneath which we have the pipeline view. We have two pipelines configured over here, one for the staging and the other for the production. Now, in order to do the deployment, first we will trigger the pipeline which we have configured for staging. So this is the pipeline which we have configured for staging instance. The first job is build, the second is deploy, and finally we have the testing job. Underneath are the related executions. So we have our one-click execution. We just go and click on execute now. This will trigger the pipeline execution, and you can actually see the live status right from here. That is the first job, build job, is getting executed right now. And if you go to Jenkins, you can see the same over there as well. So this is the Jenkins instance. You can see the live execution, and we are doing it right from Kovair. So we see that already the build job and the has been completed, and next is showing the deploy build. It's in progress. So it's coming in yellow, and we are waiting for the third one, test, to get started. Once this gets finished, so we see that both the jobs have already completed their execution, and finally we have started with the third job test. So now if I take you to the server where we have installed Selenium, the testing job is basically done from there. So you can see actually the script running over here, the automatic execution running in the background. We find that the execution is complete, the build job is successful, deploy build is successful, and the test job is also successful. So once this is fixed in the staging instance, what we are going to do next is we'll trigger the pipeline which we have configured for the production instance. So let's get back to the pipeline view, and we select the pipeline production, and we are going to execute this right now. So I'll click on execute now, And this one-click solution will firstly deploy with the help of Chef. We are using Chef for the deploy build, and test we will be using Selenium, and for build Jenkins will be working. So as we have already done the build over there in the staging instance, we won't be using this job again in the production. So we have only two jobs configured over here, the deploy production and the test production. So the deploy production is in progress right now. Once this completes, we'll get on to the next job, test production. So the deploy production is successful. And we have started with the test production. If you want to see the script running in the background, we have this over here. So you can see the automatic Selenium script running. So after providing the correct credentials and with correct error messages, the script was successfully executed and we finally log out. So that was about the pipeline production execution. So we have all the related execution over here in this section. So now we go to the production instance, and the user will provide the username, and that's the correct message. I'll omit the username and provide only the password. That's also the correct message. And now I log in. So the production instance is now working absolutely fine. So the developer now finally goes into Rally and changes the state to fixed and saves it. What happens? This actually changes the state of the incident in ServiceNow to resolved. So let's not waste the time and go directly over there in ServiceNow and try to locate the incident and the state. So once we refresh, this in progress will be changed to resolved. And that's the automation part of our Kovair. So you can see that the state has got changed to resolved. Now finally, Kovair allows you to build various type of reports and dashboards. If I take you to the dashboard section, you'll find many type of reports are configured like pyramid charts, bar graphs and pie charts and so on. So this is one of the pyramid chart. You can see that the number of defects is distributed according to their status. If I double click on them, it will actually fetch me the list which is having the defects which satisfy this particular sector. Over here in fixed, so these are the defects which you can see from here. You can actually track the status of the defects, and again the defect by application and status. This is we are using two fields to create this particular report. This is the defect count per application, that each application like Kovair DevOps demo has 9 defect count. Kovair defect management has 38 defects. And this is a multi-level pie chart you can see, which is made by considering the field status, application and tool. This is another which is based on the build result. And this is the defect density which we are calculating over here in this particular report. And this is the defect removal efficiency. Not only this, we have other reports which we have taken the data from Jenkins, and we have actually brought those Jenkins reports over here into our Kovair application. So this is the line chart by which you can find the data. Similarly, the pie chart, and finally comes the bar graph. So you can actually find all these reports configured over there, and worth mentioning, you need not write a single piece of code in order to configure such reports. So we have a traceability view from application. So if I refresh this and I expand it, we have the defect with the status as fixed. Underneath, we have the chain set, and finally, the code file. So that was about our DevOps solution, and also with every stage you get notifications over here whether the build is successful or the build is unsuccessful. You get mail notifications. These are pretty simple to configure. So thank you and have a good day.